On behalf of the Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you to Como Connect, powered by Como Electric Cooperative's 83rd annual meeting of the membership. My name is Gene Eulinger. I'm President of the Board of Directors. We appreciate all of you for joining us today, and we are extremely grateful to be returning to normal meeting after hosting this is our first traditional meeting since 2019. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order and ask fellow Como board member John Schuster to come and give our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance and introduce the performer for the national anthem. I would also like to honor John. John is retiring after 15 years as a member of our board of directors. And before he comes, I would like for you to give him a round of applause for his service. John.
Thank you, and I would like to thank the board and all the employees for the help and the love that I've received over the past 15 years. And we truly are a family. We call ourselves a co-op family, and it truly is that way. Thank you so much, and if you'd please rise now. Bow for a word of prayer. Father God, we ask for your comforting, healing hand upon all those folks affected by school shootings and the war in Ukraine. Let them feel of your presence and your peace. Lord, thank you for making peace possible in every circumstance. Thank you for loving us so much that you sent your Son to make peace a reality on this side of heaven. Lord, we come before you tonight and humbly bow. Open our eyes that we may see the truths, and open our ears that we may hear your voice. Lord, make us an instrument of your peace. Be our strength in times of weakness. Make us wise against those who would do us harm. Be our shield in times of trouble. Father, for the coal and the gas we burn to generate electricity, we acknowledge that you put that there for us to use. We thank you. Father, for the winds and the rains and the sunshine we captured to create electricity, we acknowledge that all of these obey your voice. We thank you. All the electricity we use to make life easier is a gift from you. You are the source of all power. You are the giver of these blessings. Father, for the technologies you have allowed us to be a part of, we thank you. Father, guard our employees, keep them safe, watch over all of us, and give us the guidance, the knowledge, and the wisdom to conduct this meeting in accordance with your will. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. If you'll please place your hand over your heart, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now one of our own, Claire Hayden, will give us the rendition of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the hearts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. Before we continue with the determination of quorum and our meeting minutes, I would like to take a moment and recognize all of our membership who have served or are currently serving in the military. If you are a veteran or are currently serving our great country, would you please stand? Thank you for your service. At this time, we would like to recognize two of our own board members who are also veterans, John Schuster and Rick Purdon. Would you please come forward and join me here at the podium? I cannot truly express how proud we are of these gentlemen, but I'm going to give it a try. Both Rick and John have bravely served our country, but like many veterans, their commitment to service did not stop there. They continue to dedicate countless hours to various veteran programs, including serving in the Honor Guard. I know both of them would say that they're just doing one of many that are doing their part, others in honoring others who have served. But we want to recognize these COMO board members specifically. Tonight, we're proud to be making a $1,000 donation in each of your names to the Central Missouri Honor Flight, which facilitates transportation for veterans to Washington, D.C. to visit memorials dedicated to honor their service and sacrifice. We have a representative here from Central Missouri Honor Flight, and I would ask that they join me on stage at this time to accept the donation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again for your military service, for your countless hours that you've dedicated in Honor Guard service, and for your service to our members as directors of the board of COMO. I would now like to call upon Secretary-Treasurer Rick Everhart to come and to continue with determination of quorum and for our meeting minutes. Rick?
Good evening. Thank you, Gene. It's a real blessing to see everybody here gathered once again. As your secretary, I'd like to report on the number of registrations that we've received via mail, online, and those registrations we received here tonight. We have reached our quorum as required by our bylaws. The number of registrations that reflect the fact that the official meeting notice and a copy of the 2021 annual meeting minutes was mailed in the May 2022 Rural, Missouri to members. To dispense with roll call and the reading of the minutes, I will now accept a motion to recognize the presence of a quorum, mailing of the official notice of this meeting, and approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? A motion has been made. All in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
As president of the Board of Directors of Como, it is my honor to introduce you to the current Board of Directors. I'm Gene Eulinger, District 3 from California. Rodney Shadd, District 3 for Sales. Craig Alley, District 3, California. Rick Everhart, Secretary Treasurer, District 1, Stover. Bill Betteridge, District 1, Pilot Grove. Bruce Wolf, District 1, Pilot Grove. Rick Purden, District 2, Lori. John Schuster, District 2, Tipton. And Gary Harris, Vice President, District 2, Boonville. As members of your Board of Directors, it's our job to conduct the business of the cooperative and to make policy decisions. Thank you to each of my fellow board members for their dedicated efforts ensuring that our co-op remains strong for years to come. I would now like to welcome Ken Kunze to the podium to present the report of the nominating committee for the 2022 election of directors.
Good evening. To the Board of Directors, Como Electric Cooperative Incorporated, Tifton, Missouri, 65081. We, the undersigned members of the nominating committee, appointed by the Board of Directors of Como Electric Cooperative, INC, on March 14, 2022, in compliance with Section 5 of the Article 4 of the bylaws, to make and submit nominations for directors to be elected at the annual meeting the members to be held on Thursday, May the 26th, 2022. Do hereby report that we have selected as nominees for the directors the following persons shown as district in alphabetical order. Excuse me. District 1, William Bill Betteridge, 6340A Highway, Munson, Missouri, 65237. Catherine Kathy Lynn Page, 1523 Foxtrot Road, Smithton, Missouri, 65350. District 2, Howard Lee Dreffin, 6213 Lee School Drive, Munson, Missouri, 65237. David Munsell, 14011 Highway 5, Boonville, Missouri, 65233. District 3, Keith Eugene Gene Eulinger, Jr., 56460 Highway N, California, Missouri, 65018. Lawrence Paul Stegman, 53650 Bethel School Road, Jamestown, Missouri, 65046. Article 4, Section 5 of the Cooperative Bylaws indicated that any 50 or more members acting together may make nominations by petition if received at least 45 days before the annual meeting of the membership and shall be included on the official ballot. In District 2, Jason Bradley Martin, 31361 Highway BB, Tipton, Missouri, 65081, was nominated by petition and is therefore included on the official ballot for District 2. Dated at Tipton, Missouri, this 14th day of March, 2022. Signed members of the nominating committee: Kenneth Coonsey, Chairman; Jeff Delby, Elsie Drury, Harold Hallman, Dave Jackson, Eric Kraus, Gary Nauman, Ruth Ann Warnicki, Cheryl Woods, and Will Wright. This being all members present at the nominating committee, posted 10:30 a.m. March 14th, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, and committee for your work. At this time, I'd like to bring our cooperatives attorney, Doug Obley, up to handle the election of directors.
Thank you, Gene. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to conduct your election of directors this evening. It's nice to see so many of you here tonight after the last 2 years. And we actually have people voting tonight. I want to explain that there's a little bit of change since the last time we voted in a meeting like this. We have now gone from strictly paper ballots to a process by which people can now vote online. That was able to be done prior to the meeting. It's able to be done tonight. And for those of you who may have not voted already tonight, we'll give you an opportunity to finish that up here pretty quickly. This has allowed members to vote many different ways, and we hope has exposed and encouraged you to participate in the voting process in a greater way than we have been able to do in the past. By way of review of the election procedures, the bylaws require each year one director is to be elected from each of the 3 designated voting districts. These districts have been established using computer data so that it's ensured that each district contains, as near as possible, an equal number of voting members. I want to remind you tonight that regardless of which district you live in, you are entitled to vote for 1 director in each of the 3 voting districts. And the candidates are shown on the ballots that have been distributed both tonight and previously online. The bylaws provide for 2 methods of directors to be nominated, and you have heard those, one by written petition and by the nominating committee. At this point in time, I'd like to call all of the candidates who are not on the stage now to please come forward and have a seat in one of the vacant chairs to my right, and we will be introducing you formally shortly. Seven candidates for director will be introduced in alphabetical order by voting district as their names appear on the ballot, and we'll be doing that in just a moment. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to share brief remarks with you about his or her candidacy tonight. And because they have had pre-recorded statements that have been available to the membership now for several weeks, we are going to ask that the statements tonight be limited to no more than 1 minute. I hope someone told you that before tonight, but because of the pre-recorded statements, we're going to ask that you limit your remarks tonight. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce the candidates to you for their limited remarks, and I'm going to start first with District Number 1, William Bill Battridge.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks to everyone for coming out this evening. It's really great to see all the people back here in Tipton, Missouri. I'm going to start by introducing my wife, Diane. She's sitting right down here. I couldn't do a lot of things and am very glad that she's here to support me. I would like to let everyone know I've served 2 terms on the board. I'm currently serving as the Vice President for COM, our Internet Division. I would like to just thank everyone for coming out. Appreciate your support. I want to close with the fact that we have a great cooperative. It's been strong for many, many years. We're doing a lot of great things. I really believe we're headed down a great path. And I want to close with the fact that this great cooperative was started in 1939, and that our family have been members ever since the inception of this co-op, and I'm very proud of that fact. Thank you.
The second candidate from District Number 1 is Kathy Lynn Page.
Well, in case you haven't noticed, among all of these esteemed gentlemen up here, I am the shortest one here. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I appreciate your votes. If you didn't vote for me, that's okay. If you voted, that's the main thing. Being a member of a co-op is a wonderful thing. Being a board member is an honor, and I hope that if I am elected, that I will do a good job for you. So thank you very much.
Moving to District 2, it's a little different for District 2 this year. There are 3 candidates instead of 2, and that is because there was a nomination by petition, which we don't normally have, but we're glad to have one tonight. The first candidate to be introduced from District Number 2 is Howard Lee Draffin.
Good evening. It's good to see everyone here tonight. It's good to see that we have this many people that are willing to come and support our cooperative. We have a strong and forward-thinking cooperative here, and it's good that we are able to support them and keep them in their work. My wife Dorothy is over here at this table. She and I have been members of the cooperative for 48 years, and we're very pleased with what we see here, and the employees here are quite an asset to them. Thank you.
The second candidate from District Number 2 is Jason Bradley Martin.
Thank you. As you probably read in the Rural Missourian or in your pamphlet tonight, me and my wife Katie are from Tipton, and that's where we decided to raise our family. We live on a small farm just east of here. Most people know me from my time as being a chef and the work that I've done there. I'd like to say my cooking days are over, but my wife and kids make sure that doesn't happen. I spend my time now, I've turned my focus to caring for our older adults living in a senior living setting. John Schuster, as he says farewell to the board after 15 years, it would be my honor to take his seat at the table. John and Kay have been family friends and neighbors for all my life. Thank you, John, for your service both to our country and to this board. My main reason for wanting to join the board is the opportunity to serve. I think everybody needs to give back and serve in some fashion. When I look around at the men and women currently serving or running for a seat, I'm impressed with the knowledge that everyone brings. I'm not retired, nor do I have grandkids, but I do have many years of experience leading my different teams through many ups and downs throughout the years. Over the past 2 years, working in a long-term care setting, that's brought new challenges during the current pandemic, and this experience has further grown me as a leader. I drive daily to Columbia for my work, and I often get a lot of questions on why I would make that drive. It's easy to reply as I look around today. I wouldn't want to raise my family anywhere else. I look forward to the opportunity to serve you. Thank you.
The third candidate from District Number 2 is David Munsell.
Thank you, Doug. It's a pleasure being here tonight and seeing all of you here. I learned a long time ago it's always smart to acknowledge your wife. And I would like to acknowledge my wife, Ann, sitting right out here in the front, especially tonight because today is our 49th wedding anniversary. So I would like to acknowledge her and thank her for all that she's done and helped me in my career. I'd also like to thank the Como Electric Cooperative for putting on this event and this marvelous meal. If you enjoyed that, I'm sure everybody can applaud that. Also putting everything together, and I want to thank the cooperative for allowing me to run for director in District 2. I also want to thank all of you, the members, the owners of this cooperative, for coming out and doing what you do and supporting it as strong as you do. And if I am elected, I pledge that I will work to represent you, to continue to work to create competitive electrical rates and provide good service, for your home and for your community and with a good broadband service. So thank you so much. God bless you and drive safe. Thank you.
Moving to District number 3, the first candidate is Keith Eugene Gene Eulinger Jr.
It has been my pleasure to serve on the Como board. I just want to share with you, we've had opportunities to go to meetings nationwide, statewide, have had an opportunity to be on panels on both state and national levels. One of the things I've shared with our board when I've got back, and I've shared with our staff, every time I go to those meetings, I come home and say, thank you, Lord, that I'm in Como. Como Electric Cooperative has been one of the leading co-ops around the country, and one example has been our use of broadband. We're still used as the example for others to look at. It has been a pleasure to serve you on the board, and I would ask for your continued support. And before I get in real trouble, I would like to introduce my wife, Diane, who is very supportive of Como and for the time that we've spent on it. Thank you very much.
The second candidate from District number 3 is Lawrence Paul Stegeman.
Thanks, everyone, and welcome. I want to introduce my wife, Cheryl. So, in the military, it's all about the families. And there's families here tonight. And the co-op serves families, the whole family, young and old, whether you care about the internet or not. The kids playing games or adults playing games or whoever's playing the games. And it's all about the family. We all serve together. And that's what it's about. I think the future of this organization is bright. And I'd like to be a part of that, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think this is a great organization. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of the candidates for their remarks and for their willingness to serve the cooperative should they be elected. Would you please give them a final round of applause? For those of you who have not had the previous opportunity to vote, we're now going to let you have that opportunity. You will vote for 3 directors, 1 from each voting district. And when you do that, if you haven't voted already, well, I'll direct you to the voting stand over here to my right, and that's where you'll go to get assistance to use one of the iPads to complete the voting process. The ballots are divided into 3 voting sections, and each represents one of the 3 voting districts. So please remember that no matter where you reside, in what district, you may vote for 1 director from each of those 3 districts. Are there any questions? If not, we'll let those who have not yet voted please go to the voting area. And that concludes our voting process. Thank you for your attention.
I would now like to call upon Rick Everhart to come and present the treasurer's report. Rick?
Thank you again, Gene. As your treasurer, it is my pleasure to inform you of our cooperative's financial condition. A balance sheet and a statement of operations for the year ending December 31st, 2021 were included in the May 2022 issue of the Rural Missouri that was recently mailed to you. During 2021, our plant assets grew over $16 million to $255.3 million. Member equity grew more than $5 million to more than $89.9 million in total equity. Last year, $3 million was returned to our members in the form of capital credits. And that concludes my report. Thank you, and God bless each of you.
Please join me in welcoming Como Connect CEO Aaron Bradshaw to the podium for his report to our members.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it very much. And welcome back, everyone. It is great to see all of your faces. Great to see you here, and thank you for coming and helping us celebrate our 83rd annual meeting. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to thank the amazing folks I have the great pleasure of working with each day. Now, not only did they help put this thing together, which I think has been wonderful, and as was mentioned, a quick round of applause for Lutz's, who did a fabulous job on the food. But an even bigger round of applause for the employees that make this place the amazing organization it is. They're awesome. I would now like to provide a quick update on a few areas of the cooperative's performance over the past year. Now, those areas are going to include safety, reliability, and customer service. So first, safety. Safety is a core value that our employees live by each day. We continue to have regular monthly safety meetings for the whole group. We additionally do job briefings before each job to be prepared for the unique challenges that performing this work, line work, presents to us when we get out and see what Mother Nature has gotten for us. So we are very proud of our employees and their safety record, and we know that they will continue to make us proud. Now, our safety committee is organization-wide, and it has folks on it that represent every aspect of our work. They're the stewards of our safety culture. They work to make sure that we have a unified approach to how we're going about things. They ensure that we use the most up-to-date and effective work practices, and they're dedicated to making sure that we send our employees safely home to their families each night. As members of this cooperative, on another note, system reliability is critically important, I'm assuming to you. You like it when the lights go on, right? We all like that. And each year we try and make sure that we are living up to your expectations. For 2021, our electric distribution system was on 99.98% of the time. That record, by the way, is due to strong maintenance programs. So we invest heavily in things like making sure old, outdated infrastructure is replaced with newer stuff. And so many of you have probably witnessed us moving poles, replacing conductor, moving poles to the roadway, and that kind of thing. That's what keeps the system strong. We also invest heavily in making sure that the rights of way are clear of vegetation so that when you have storms, those limbs don't get blown into the lines and cause outages. Now, we also invest in other ways in the system. We build tie lines and options for backfeeding the system, so when you do have an outage, there's ways to turn the majority of the folks back on while we work on the area that has had a primary issue. We also make technological investments in things like SCADA, which is the ability to control things from back at the office, and AMI, automated metering infrastructure. Those things help us identify what the problem is and where it is so that when there is an outage, we get there quick and we get the lights back on as quickly as possible. Now, while our record on reliability is good, unfortunately we cannot, as I mentioned, always predict Mother Nature's effect on the system. So when severe weather strikes and the power goes out, our brave crews head out to restore power as quickly as they can, never knowing what they're going to find in the field. And for that, I want to quickly say thank you to our linemen for their work and dedication. And honestly, yeah, quick round of applause. But one thing that sometimes gets forgotten is I'd also like to say thank you to their families for their support and understanding, because we all know that when the phone rings at 2 in the morning, the person next to them may have to roll over and put their boots on. And it doesn't make for a peaceful night waiting for them to come in. And thank you to all of you that are married to a lineman. I appreciate it, your understanding, no end. So my sincere gratitude. So, mention a couple of topics. We also strive to exceed expectations when it comes to members, customer satisfaction, and customer service. Now, when you call, we answer. When your power goes out, we go out and fix it. And we do all of that making sure that we treat each of our members as friends and neighbors, because that's what you are. Shoot, every time I go to a party or a function or anything along those lines, I run into people that we serve, and it makes my heart warm when they go, oh, I have Como, when they figure out what it is. It's awesome. I've been in the grocery store and had people see my logo on my shirt. I've had moms come over with their kids and say, we're just getting ready to connect to your internet service. It's an amazing thing how connected to the community we are and how much support we get from you and how much we want to make sure that we're dedicated to making sure you're taken care of. Now, in 2021, we started a survey process for our members and subscribers when we interact with them. So any interaction, it's entirely possible that you'll get a call or a survey via email or however it may be asking how we did. Now, that satisfaction is basically graded on a 5-point scale. So if anybody's taken an Uber or Lyft or stayed in a hotel and rated it on Priceline on a 5-star rating, same type of deal. And for 2021, I'm proud to say that we received a 4.5 overall satisfaction rating based on more than 2,000 survey responses. Any teachers in the crowd? I know my wife's over there too. So that's a 90. So that would be an A for the folks that are on the phone and across the counter and the guys that go out and see you in the field. So I'm very proud of them for that, but I also know we always strive to do better. So with that, while I have your attention, I would also like to offer a brief update on the cooperative's wholly owned broadband subsidiary. So Como continues to grow and provide broadband connectivity to rural Missourians. We are currently building in Kaufman Bend, in Lincoln, in Warsaw, and we have plans to help many others in need. I mean, those were communities that were underserved, that we worked very hard to make sure that we were wanted in that community and that they were supportive of us coming in. And in the very near future, they're going to go from, if you remember the dial-up days or dealing with half a megabyte of service from some of the other providers, to what we offer to everybody that's within our service territory. Lightning fast, as Chip Thunder would say. Sorry. He's here tonight, by the way, although he's not in helmet. So, if you got a chance to say hi to Chip Thunder, I'm sure he appreciates the love. So anyway, you can be proud knowing that your cooperative remains at the forefront of the national effort to close the digital divide and make sure that those underserved in the U.S. are actually going to be taken care of in the future. So, I have a story to tell you. And this is going to be a story of muckraking and name-calling and questionable politics and voting irregularities. So, all kinds of nasty stuff, right? And also, I got to kill 20 minutes while we make sure that everybody has a chance to vote. So that's also important. But I know this sounds like I'm getting ready to tell you about today's politics, but I'm not. I want to talk to you about the election of 1800. Now, why, right? I'll get there, I promise. So if I'm going to tell the story of the election of 1800, which I think is interesting, I'm going to start with the election that took place 4 years prior to that. So 4 years prior to that, in the good old US of A, there was an election between the Democratic Republicans, a candidate for president, and the Federalist candidate for president. It was Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. John Adams had previously been the vice president for George Washington. They run for election, and basically every elector gets 2 votes. So they all vote, and unlike today, what happens is whoever gets the most votes is president, and whoever gets the second most votes is vice president, which is how you end up with John Adams as president, as a Federalist, and Thomas Jefferson, his opposition, as vice president. So they spend 4 years serving the country, doing their best to move things along as we're a developing nation. And it comes to the next time, and both parties figure, all right, that isn't exactly the way we think we should run things, so we're going to set up a strategy where we'll get president and vice president both for the same party. It's the first time ever in the country that they establish a slate of candidates for president and vice president. So you have John Adams running for Federalist, and I think his running mate was Pinckney, was the last name. And for Democratic Republicans, you have Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr. And they don't have a way to distinguish, it's not constitutionally considered, who's going to be vice president, president out of the voting, other than how many votes they get, right? So both parties go, all right, here's what we're going to do. We'll have this election, and our electors will go vote for our candidates, but we'll sandbag 1 vote on the one we want to be vice president. So they all decide, and they hold the election, and that's exactly what happens on the Federalist side. Adams gets 1 more vote than his running mate. Unfortunately, that wasn't the most votes. Those were for the Democratic Republicans. And whether or not Aaron Burr, the running mate, was involved in shenanigans is still remains to be seen, but it came out an even vote. And so it's not determined as to how they will select the president if there's a tie, so it gets thrown to the House to make the decision for basically a runoff where they will once again decide who the person is going to be president, vice president, at which point Burr decides it's a great opportunity to go hitting up all of the potential voters and going, hey, I know I was running as vice president, but I think I'd make a great president. So going against this party, you now have Jefferson and Burr both running or basically lobbying for the votes to become president in the House. And to put by the way, when I meant muckraking and name calling, they're both trash talking each other. And by the way, everybody involved, including Hamilton, who I'm about to bring up here in a second, are lawyers that fight each other in court all the time and generally don't get along. So, over the next 6 days, there are 35 votes, and nobody can break the tie. And here's the reason. Everybody at the House hates the candidates that won because the House is controlled by the Federalists who lost the presidential and vice presidential election. It's the equivalent of asking Nancy Pelosi to pick between Trump and Pence, okay? So they're not happy about it. And it comes down to they've been going for 6 days. Everybody's tired. They're worried about whether or not this thing's going to continue on. And they bring in Hamilton, who many of you know. They've written there's a very popular musical out on Hamilton now that details his life. And they bring him in because he's basically the forefather, the founding father of not just part of the country, but also the Federalist Party. And they ask him, hey, what do he wants to do here? And so Hamilton doesn't like either of these candidates. And he basically goes on a tirade, but eventually sums it up with, listen, I don't like Jefferson. I don't understand his politics. I never understand where he's coming from when we're talking to each other, but he's always consistent. Burr, on the other hand, as far as I can tell, the guy is self-serving. and he's willing to change his position and opinion whenever he can, as long as it gets him ahead. So given that that's the case, I'd recommend that we give the nod to Jefferson. So the next vote, the 36th vote on the 6th day, a couple of the representatives abstained. Jefferson gets the nod, and he becomes President of the United States, and Aaron Burr becomes our Vice President. And this description of him, which is obviously public, sticks in his craw so much that over the next 2 years, animosity escalates, and there's back and forth between Jefferson and Burr to the point where a unlicensed illegal duel takes place, and one of our founding fathers is shot and killed by a sitting vice president while half the rest of Congress is standing there or turning their back or claiming they weren't there. So the vice president has to skedaddle out of town because there's a murder warrant out on him, which eventually is, the charges are dropped and he's allowed to come in and serve out the remainder of his term, but basically his reputation is ruined. They were nasty to each other. There was questionable voting techniques. All that stuff kind of puts the current political environment in perspective. When you realize that despite all that turmoil, our great nation still thrives today. So here's the thing. No matter how much drama might occur surrounding the elections on this board, 200 years from now, nobody is going to be compelled to write a musical. So I picked that story not just because I think it's interesting and amusing and humanizes our founding fathers, some of the greatest thinkers when it comes to political structure ever, but also because it illustrates a point, and that's that crazy unplanned events require us to adapt in unexpected ways so that we're prepared the next time. Now, given the purpose of our meeting, which is the election of board members, it also seemed appropriate to do a story about voting. And speaking of voting, as was mentioned previously, over the past couple of years, the pandemic has forced us to adapt in order to make sure that your voices were heard. We've mailed ballots to all of you. The next year, we put your ballots in the rural Missouri and sent it to everyone. This year, we partnered with AMEC, our statewide organization, to make sure that we could set up online voting and make voting available here, digitally, by the way, which will mean it's the first time, I think, in history we're going to have the results of this election before we step off the stage. We appreciate AMEC not only for helping facilitate fair and open elections, but also for establishing a system that does just that, tallies the results quickly. Doug will tell you, he was once forced to count and honestly, many of the members of the nominating committee were once forced to count by hand, I think 4,000 votes not too long ago, and they very much like this digital version better. The thing is, as you can imagine, despite the fact that we've altered voting to make sure that everyone was taken care of in the face of all the challenges, it's not just annual meeting voting, which we've been forced to adapt in recent times. Now, despite all the challenges, we've managed to chalk up a number of successes in the past year. Just to name a few, we have gone 4 solid years with no rate increase. Last year's service reliability was one of the best ever in Como's history. We've continued to extend high-speed broadband service to rural communities that are in need. And recently, as many of you know, because I'm sure it's on a lot of the shirts around here, we hit 25,000 subscribers that didn't have good internet that now do as a result of the vision of this board and the dedication of the employees that you see here tonight. Now, we've also implemented a new software package, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it was a rough patch at the organization, swapping stuff in and out, and that will, in the future, reduce call waiting times when you call in, and make sure that when there are problems, they get resolved more quickly by giving better access to data for the folks that are trying to help you. Now, there are a dozen other victories I could stand up here and talk about this evening, but I'm not going to. I'm going to end this list with one that I believe speaks directly to the soul of our organization. Between Operation Roundup and the Connect to Help program, more than $200,000 has been donated to help those in need within our communities since 2020. And we are currently holding the Connect to Help campaign once again, and we anticipate an additional $25,000 will be given to local charities this year. It is worth noting that all of these accomplishments were achieved despite the backdrop of the challenging environment we faced ourselves with. It is my obligation to tell you that the headwinds are likely to get worse before they get better. Now, inflation and increasing interest rates are a problem. Capital investment doesn't stretch as far as it did, and honestly, the cost of capital is significantly higher. All of you see it, interest rates are up, costs more to borrow money, and money doesn't stretch as far. Shoot, we see it at the gas pump every day. Now, utility infrastructure is a capital-intensive business, which means that affects us directly. The issues you've heard about related to supply chain are very real. Scarcity of the equipment we use every day is both driving up costs, contributing to extended leave times, and in many cases is creating real problems with actual availability of the stuff we need. Two particularly nasty examples that I'll bring up this evening are bucket trucks and transformers. The current lead time on transformers used to be a few weeks. It is now 60 weeks. For bucket trucks, the big ones that we use to put the lights back on, it is a 3-year wait. Now, that scarcity also extends to the fuel that runs our power plants. The natural gas that's used to generate electricity for us is currently, that's the funny thing. I wrote this speech a couple of days ago, and the speech says it's currently 3 times what it was expected to be this time last year, but as of today, it's like 4 times. Finally, there is substantial pressure being applied to the power suppliers that we buy our energy from those that are in a rush to shutter coal generation and eventually natural gas, despite the fact that there are no reliable replacements. I will say that again, there are no reliable replacements for the on-site generation that we have contributed to, supported, and built over the past number of decades. Now, this uninformed push towards a carbon-free grid that, quite frankly, is sure to result in rolling blackouts in parts of the country, in my opinion, is unacceptable. And I will say, while it's my duty to let you know all these challenges we're facing, it's also my pleasure to share with you one of my favorite sayings. And I'm sorry to embarrass you, Corey. Corey Timbinsel's in the crowd. He's one of the guys I'm fortunate to work with, and he just bought a sailboat. And so one of my favorite sayings is, a calm sea never made a skilled sailor. And it's those winds, lashing rains, crashing waves that really show us how good we truly can become. And the team that work for you, the people I work alongside, there's no one I would rather steer into rough waves with than them. In fact, we are already planning to address and working towards solutions to all the things, all the problems I just listed. We're laying out solutions today. While you've likely seen announcements that other utilities are having increases, we're working hard on your behalf, and our plan is not to have an increase during 2022. Feel free. Our team is working to extend the life of those vehicles I mentioned. We're also partnered with the industry's top folks when it comes to securing materials. As you drove in, you may have looked around and noticed that we got a lot of stuff on our yard. That isn't how a lot of the utilities look these days. We have been making an effort to make sure that it's there when we need it, so that we don't ever have to pause when putting the lights on or building a new service. Your management team and board are also making sure that your voice is heard, not just in Jefferson City, but in Washington, D.C. Just this past month, actually, Mr. Purdon and I went to D.C., and the message we were carrying was, reliability first. Letting the folks in DC know, for rural America, we believe that the lights staying on is just as important as investing in those technologies that will secure a reliable, carbon-free energy future. Como is many things. Among them, we're an electric provider, a tech company, an industry leader, as Mr. Jean mentioned. We're a catalyst for growth in the community and economic development, and I think you'll be hearing more about that in the coming year. But one thing we never are is stagnant. And when it comes to taking care of our members, we never sit on our laurels. I want to thank you for your support and for the opportunity to lead this organization, one that I quite frankly think is the best in the industry. I promise you this, we plan to continue charting a path forward even in turbulent times, and our guiding light will always remain our purpose as an organization, which is to improve the quality of life for the communities that we serve. So we will ride out these storms together, and we will enjoy on the far side all the blue skies and all the rewards that that will have to offer. Now, with that, I'll conclude my report by saying thank you for attending today's annual meeting. I know I speak for everyone here when I say we appreciate the opportunity to serve you, and we very much appreciate being a part of this community. Thank you. Mr. Jean?
Thank you, Aaron. Now I would like to take a moment to recognize the Board of Directors for the Como Cares Trust. This group manages Operation Roundup program that a lot of you participate in. And you can read about it on our website. And if board members are here, if you would stand, please. Darrell King, Chairman. Harvey Williams, Vice Chairman. Tina Potts is Treasurer. Elsie Drury is Secretary. Glenn Bain. Patricia Snyder. Daryl Spady. Shirley Weiss. Michelle Higgins. Let's give a round of applause for this group. Tonight, we're blessed to have a group of retirees with us, folks who've helped lay the foundation upon which the Work at Como team is building every day. Some of these folks remember the days when the lines were just going up, or for some of the struggles that came with this rapid growth. Some of them just recently retired, but all of them are an important part of who we are today as an organization. Would the retired Como employees in attendance please rise? Thank you for your service. We're also blessed to have a number of other special guests with us tonight. And if you would stand as I read your name, we have Lauren Mann, representative for Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, back here. On our state level, Senator Mike Bernskoetter. Representative Tim Taylor from the 6th District, or 48th District. Willard Haley is here from the 58th. We have Presiding Commissioner of Montauk County, Mac Finley. We've got Aaron Martin, Associate Circuit Judge, Montauk County Circuit Court. We've got Derek Kendi, Montauk County Prosecuting Attorney. We've got Teresa Brandis, candidate for Cooper County Treasurer. Ann Perry, candidate for Montauk County Prosecuting Attorney. Cooperative representatives that we have, Chris Turner, CEO, Central Electric Cooperative. He's in the back. Brian Jacoby, manager, Central Missouri Electric Cooperative. Rob Barnes, manager at Calibite Technology. Business representatives, Mike Kelly, President and CEO, Montauk County Regional Economic Development Council. Let's give a big round of applause for all of these that are our partners in the various activities that we have. I want to thank all of you for joining tonight. At this time, do we have any unfinished business to bring before the membership? Any new business? Now I'd like to bring our Cooperatives Attorney, Doug Obley, back to present the results of the 2022 election.
Thanks to the very able assistance of our good friends at AMEC who ran the electronic voting process this year, I'm going to announce the winners of each of the three districts. From District Number 1, the director for the next 3 years will be William Bill Bettridge. District Number 2, Jason Martin. And District Number 3, Gene Eulinger. Thank you very much.
Thank you for attending our 83rd annual meeting. In closing, on behalf of the Board of Directors, please join me again in giving this group of Como employees one more round of applause for all the work that they do. I would encourage you to stick around after the adjournment for the announcement of door prize winners. This will be for those who attended tonight, and then the bill credit prizes that will be announced tomorrow on our website and social media. The winners also will be called. Those bill credit prizes will be randomly selected from all those who voted, whether it be online, whether it be mail-in ballot or in person. And also on your tables, you should have found an annual meeting survey. We would greatly appreciate it if you would fill those out. And you can either fill them out or you can scan the code on top and then fill it out online. If you're a member who would like to address an issue with the board this evening, we will be available after the meeting. We will be in the health fair room, which is down this area, following the close of the meeting. And now I would entertain a motion that we adjourn. Do I hear a motion? I have a motion and a second that we adjourn. All of those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. The meeting is adjourned.